Ladies and gentlemen, welcome back. Today we're going to watch former world number 2 of the world, Vasyl Ivanchuk, absolutely obliterate former world chess champion Vishwanathan Anand. So grab yourself a drink, perhaps sit back, grab yourself some tea, and just witness this frankly disgusting game of chess. So this game opens up with d4. We do get knight f6. He's just getting out his knight, c4, e6, and knight c3. Now, instead of opting for d5 or c5, which was featured in my last video about Tal in the Benoni defense, we do get bishop b4. So he's just pinning this knight, it's all standard theory. e3, short castle, bishop d3. Both players are just getting out their pieces. It's all heavy theory. d5, knight f3, and c5. So basically what Anand here wants is he just wants to take this pawn, and make sure that this e-pawn gets traded for his c-pawn so he can play against the isolated pawn. So let's say he were to make a null move, he played this, now he's got an isolated pawn, and then he'd set up play like this and attack it. So what does Ivanchuck'd do? He just castles. Yeah, I mean, obviously. Now we do get DC, and instead of taking on d4 here, Anand just goes for knight bd7. It's another theoretical move. Yeah, I suppose it was just his prep. So what he wants to do is just take a move later and then play b6 in one go. Maybe he's arguing that he doesn't want to for Ivanchuk to get his bishop out because the pawn is still here in the position which is featured in the game after knight bd7. Regardless, we do get the move queen e2. So yeah, he just wants to play rook d1, line up his rook against the queen, and really emphasize his, I suppose, slightly more central control. So now he plays cd, ed, and here he actually makes a slight mistake, or inaccuracy. I mean slight, it was the start of something brutal. So here he should have played a6. Now this move just prepares the move b5, attacking the bishop, making sure that Anand can get his bishop out, and then everything would be all good and jolly. But instead he goes for b6, and now I will get back to this move a6 and explain why it's better. So now Ivanchuk feels the sense of urgency, because if he plays some move like bishop g5, just getting his piece out, then after bishop b7, he still has a very, frankly, interesting position, but it's not the best he could do. You see, he goes d5, and now, first of all, he attacks this pawn, and if Anand were to take everything, this rook is hanging. Now that's because he played this move b6. And if he were to move it, then bishop f4, and now his rook is attacked yet again. So here he just immediately loses the game, it's all over. So instead of that, here, he should have played bishop takes e3, removing the knight from the defense of this pawn. So now that if Ivanchuk were to fall asleep at the wheel and take back like this, obviously this pawn is protected, and Anand's just gonna win this game. He's just up a pawn. Yeah, it's that easy. So then Ivanchuk obviously saw this, and Anand saw this as well. D takes e6 would happen. Not just leaving this bishop to be, attacking this knight, attacking this pawn. If he were to take, then he can take here or take there, it's both good. And now he has the bishop pair, this pawn is gonna fall, white is obviously gonna win this game. So then, what should he do? Now here there are loads of complications. First of all, so if this knight is hanging and this bishop is hanging, if you were to move the knight, then, as you can see, e7 happens. And now both the queen and the rook are attacked. And yeah, he's just not gonna survive this. So instead he should play this move bishop b4. Now, not only does he remove the bishop from the attack of this pawn, he also makes sure the c7 square is covered. So now, most of you would probably just take this knight, you know, and then still white is better after a move like maybe knight e5, you know, attacking this bishop, maybe bishop g5, stuff like this. But actually he has way more promising and creative options. You see, here a move I'm sure Ivanchuck'd would have liked is bishop d2, because now he attacks this bishop. And if you were to take, then again, instead of, you know, taking this back, taking this knight, he just ignores everything, pushes his pawn, and Anand can resign, as both the rook and the queen are hanging. Also, this bishop is hanging. It's just completely over. And that is because this bishop then loses the side of the square. So naturally, it has to move. And then, again, instead of taking this knight, rook d1. So you just keep this attack, and if you were to take, now this bishop is hanging again, and it's check. So yeah, he loses again, Anand obviously. So therefore, he should play some other move, perhaps, yeah, move like knight c5. Then he takes here, gets hit with bishop f4, and this also is not gonna end well, because if he takes this bishop, this rook falls. So it's a pin, and this is attacked, so it's just crazy. Okay, so this is what could have happened if Anand were to go for bishop takes c3. And this is also why a6 should be played, because now this d5, he can in fact just, you know, take this, and everything is fine here. He's just attacking this bishop. There's no rook hanging here. He's gonna survive. And after a move like a6, the game continues with like a4, preventing b5, because he doesn't want him to get that much space. And yeah, now move like knight b6, because again, if b6, d5, and yeah, this diagonal is opened, and Anand is gonna get obliterated here. I mean, so okay, knight b6. He moves the bishop, of course, and then here again a very interesting position. It's just a nice position for both sides to get winning chances, you know. White has an isolated pawn and a little bit more space. Black has a little bit of a weakened king side here, because all of his pieces are over here, right? So his only defender is basically this knight protecting this square. But in return he gets this weak pawn, which he can put pressure on, so yeah, it's a great position. Regardless. So, okay, take, b6. This is the game. b5, as we know. And now we get the move knight c5. So, this is a slight mistake. He should have played this move bishop c3 anyway, yeah, which we just discussed. It is apparently holdable, but yeah, I mean, good luck finding that over the board. Not gonna happen. So, okay, he goes knight c5. And basically, Anand is arguing, like, if he takes, I can just take back, and get an equal position, because of course there's no, real threats anymore. And he just wants to take this knight, remove the defense of this pawn, and take it like that. So naturally, Ivanchuck'd goes rook d1, now threatening this, because he lines up the rook with the queen. So let's say Anand would make a huge blunder, you know, take here. Then, I mean, this would be a good move if Anand were to take. Oh, sorry, if Ivanchuck'd were to take, because then he's removed the defense of this pawn, and now again Anand is up a pawn and will probably win this game. But instead here d takes e6. Now the queen is hanging, this pawn is hanging, and yeah, this is gonna end very badly, because the next move he can just take this as well. So yeah, that is why after rook d1 he cannot go for this removing of the defense of this pawn. Instead he has to move the queen. Sorry, he has to move the queen because d6 is threatened. So he can choose queen e7 or queen e8. Now Queen e7 is the best move in this position. Queen e8 is the move played in the game, which actually loses. Now, this move Queen e8 is bad because after knight b5, the move played in the game, he again ignores any of this tension, doesn't develop his bishop, none of that. He goes for knight b5 because he wants to jump in with his knight to c7, attacking both the rook and the queen, which is catastrophic. So, if you played queen e7 now after knight b5, yeah, knight c7 is obviously not a threat anymore because he can take it. So then, yeah, still white is better. Still we can play for bishop f4, bishop d6, you know, attack, keep the initiative going. Knight b5 is not the best anymore here. Probably a move like, yeah, d6 or bishop f4, bishop g5. All are good moves. It's all very better for white. So, queen e8. Knight b5. He just wants to go there. And now, there's no real way to prevent this, because if you play a move like rook d8, then bishop f4, it's hanging, knight c7 is coming, he's gonna lose this game. Because of course if he moves knight d6, and he obviously can't go back because then knight c7 happens. So bishop f4 would happen, he'd have to resign. Now queen e7 obviously just loses a tempo also. So Anand plays ed5, takes a pawn, finally does something with this tension in the center, and now there is only one good move. You see, instead of taking the queen, taking the pawn, okay, that hangs this obviously, but doing any of that, he goes knight c7. Now, some of you may think, why not queen e8? It's a very logical move. Okay, if he takes with the knight, you take this. You get a huge attack. And if he takes with the rook, you may think, well, what are you on about? Knight c7, you simply attack both rooks. I mean, white must be winning here. That is actually not how this works, because after d4, he takes a bishop. You take the rook, obviously. And now, some of you think, okay, yeah, he's up in exchange, he's gonna win this game, but this knight is in the corner, black gets the bishop pair, and maybe the most important thing of all is this pawn on c4, because this allows Ivanchuck'd to go knight d3 shortly, and therefore target this pawn on f2. He's got an open file for the rook, all of white's pieces are back rank, and this knight is vulnerable. So here, yeah, a move like knight d3 is just a simple line. Knight c7, he has to get out with his knight, because otherwise it's going to be captured. Rook e7, he attacks it, knight b5, bishop d7, now this is attacked again, moves the knight, gets hit with knight g4, this pawn is hanging, and now you can probably picture his compensation for black, you know, more. So instead of any of this, like I said, knight c7. Leaves everything hanging. Now, why is this possible? Because this queen is attacked also. You see, if he, let's say we get a position like this again, like dc, and he plays something stupid, like, okay, let's just say this happens, yeah, it's not. Now, of course, again, black has compensation, but because this queen is attacked, this doesn't work, obviously. So, he has to move the queen, or else white is gonna take it. It's as simple as that. If he takes here, bishop takes happens, and now the rook is still attacked. Bishop f4, he's got all sorts of discoveries, you know, when he moves the knight, this rook is hanging. Black is also not gonna survive this. So, Anand plays queen e4, correctly pointing out that after a move like knight takes a8, again bc4 happens, or queen takes c4, both moves are fine, and Anand gets a lot of compensation for the exchange, like we just saw. I mean, he's got all of these active pieces. So, now, here there is only one good move for white. Only one move that really seals the deal, you know, immediately gets that win. So, if you do want to pause the video, I suggest you do it right now. So, here again, instead of interacting with any of this, he doesn't take this rook, doesn't take the queen, doesn't take this pawn, doesn't do any of this. This guy plays rook d4, attacking this queen again. Now, if you were to take, two pieces are hanging once more. And now he immediately hits. Now, why does this happen? Because when he takes, and he takes back, the rook is opened up. Two pieces hang, and Ivanchuck'd just crushes him. So, he has to move the queen to a different square, because obviously if he plays any other move than like a queen move, obviously he takes, right? As simple as that. So, here Anand plays the move queen g6, and now one more move is played. After this, the game is just over. The move is knight h4. Attacks the queen. Now, in this position, Anand resigns the game. I do want to explain why this happened, because, yeah. Okay, so first of all, this queen is attacked, and where should it go, right? It can't go to f5, it's covered. Can't go to any of these squares, they're all covered. This one's covered by the rook, covered by the queen. If he goes here, obviously the bishop covers it. So he has to go to h5. After which, trade. And here, one more gangster move. I mean, there are definitely multiple moves that do win the game. At this point, you can even take this rook, and the compensation isn't as good as before. But here, just one more gangster move I'm sure Ivanchuck'd would have found. Bishop f1. Instead of, again, interacting with any of his pieces, he just moves his bishop out of the way. Two pieces are hanging, and he picks up the game. Now, if you guys did enjoy watching Ivanchuck'd send Anand into the Shadow Realm, do like this video, and most important of all, please leave any suggestions you may have in the comments below. Thank you all so much for watching, and I'll catch you all in the next one.